Right. Well, welcome everyone. I'm Alyssa Moses. I'm the managing partner of Hark Connect, which is an online qualitative research platform. And I am CEO of Brain Group Global, which is a strategic consulting and research company. And I'm here with my client and colleague, Rebecca Dixon, who is the founder of the GameHERs. And today we're going to talk to you about a case study that we developed together using the Hark platform. And it was to really look in depth at the culture of women who game. And it was done as a pilot in the United States, but I want to tell you that the next stop is Europe, because we're really looking at a very global phenomenon here. We say if you look to the left and look to the right, half of gamers are women. So if you're in a room with women, half of them are going to be gaming, and they're your mother and your sister and your daughter and your boss and your colleagues. And they're just all kinds of women from all walks of life, but they definitely share some dreams and some values that we're going to take you through today. Rebecca?
Thank you, Alyssa. And I'm so excited to be here. The GameHERs is an online community. We are a media and social media platform for women who game. We are excited to create safe places for women to connect and game together. Like Alyssa said, half of gamers are women. And right now there's no easy way for women who game to connect with each other. So like this slide says, our mission is to advance the role and the voice and the image and the power of all gamers, and also of anybody who supports that mission. We actually have a lot of men in our community, and the only way to sort of change the needle here is to create these kind of safe spaces. And I'm really thrilled to be here with Alyssa to tell you a little bit more about what we've been doing.
Thank you. So just a little bit about the methodology in terms of using the Hark Connect platform. The various women within the groups were invited to join our platform, and then the GameHERs management could look at what people were saying in a virtual back room, where you can see that they could session chat up in the left. They could do all kinds of custom tagging. There is transcription down at the bottom that you see, with subtitles in real time that could be in any one of over 60 languages, should you desire. So when we go to Europe, we're going to be doing a lot of translation. And here you see that a lot of our real gamers who all gave us their approval to be part of this research and communication. And I just want to tell you that they really span all walks of life. Some go to college, some are in biomedical engineering. We had a classical musician, somebody in cybersecurity, just a wonderful cross-section of women in just about every walk of life, age, and income.
So, there's so many reasons why women game, and we had a lot of assumptions going into these focus groups, and we learned a lot more. I think it's, like this slide says, it's an incredibly satisfying and enriching way for women to experience life, and the different types of games they play, the different ways they play are just really kind of a way for them either to escape their life or to enhance their life. One thing that we found is there were a lot of sort of segments of benefits, and that's something that I think we didn't know going into the focus groups. The benefits are escape and entertainment and fantasy and creativity. But also maybe less obvious are mastery of games, and then also community and relationships. So we were really excited to learn all of this, and to learn more about what sort of contexts and situations that they gamed over various periods of time.
One thing I'll add to what you're saying, Rebecca, is that in this age of COVID, gaming has really taken on added value for a lot of people in their lives, where they can't go out to be entertained the way they used to, can't go to the movies. can't meet with friends. And this is a way that people have really been able to have that sense of community, be it playing with their families or playing with other people. It's really provided quite a psychological benefit.
Yeah, and actually, just to even add to that, I think there's going to be research. Well, we know there's going to be research on COVID till the end of time. But one thing that we have learned is that COVID, affected women differently than it affected men. And so this study into why women game and all of the reasons behind it are even more important during this time. So I'll talk a little bit about the escape entertainment. Their gaming sometimes gets a reputation it's not good for you. It actually is good for you. Like we were just saying, it's a very welcome diversion when there's too much free time, and that was especially the case over the past year. There's that, there's proof that it's relaxing. It's an escape and psychologically really good for us. And these women that we heard speak during the focus groups really kind of backed that up. It's a harmless and effective and very accessible way for them to be with friends and be with other gamers. Additional benefits including socialization and creativity. And you can see a couple of quotes on here that I think really drive that point home. I kind of use it as a way to de-stress and interact with people, interact with different forms of media. And then another one is, it wasn't until quarantine happened that I got into console gaming because I had a lot of downtime on my hands. So what better way to get through COVID than something that provides socialization in an effective and harmless way?
Another segment that we discovered has to do with mastery. And this one was really uplifting to hear women talk about how they feel about playing games and the kind of self-confidence that it gives them, and how it makes them feel like they really are in control, and a thrill of accomplishment when they're able to go to a new level or develop a skill set. They feel that it makes them strategic, and it's an outlet for this kind of determination. And the paradox, which we'll talk more about later, is that there's a pervasive cultural resistance to women gaming by some males, and it can go deep, and it can sometimes, I hate to say, be ugly. But on the flip side, there is so much good that is coming to women's self-esteem through this experience. And as one woman said, empowerment. It's a big part of why I like gaming. And another one said, it's something that I feel I can accomplish. So it makes me feel really good. And so here you see this little girl gaming, and young women are starting very early now. We heard wonderful stories about the relationship that women had as children with their mothers, their fathers, their families, how gaming was a family activity, and it really brought them together, and it has continued.
So this is in one of the other segments, new ways of thinking. And this is something we talk about a lot at the Gamer. So it was really fun to see the women in the groups talking about this. And it's strengthening strategic and critical thinking. I think, when you think about the long-term benefits of gaming and even the careers that it can lead to, and of course STEM for young women is so important. What this slide is sort of summarizing some of the quotes that we heard. The topics of games introduce players to challenging issues and encourages them to think through those issues and come up with their own opinions. I mean, how important. I'm a mother of two young daughters, and that's music to my ears hearing that, and it makes me really excited to look at the games that they're playing and to play with them. So I love this first quote in here. Personally, I love games that challenge you to think outside the box, to think about social justice issues rather than having to take things at face value. So this was just a really impactful quote that we were hopeful that people in our community, women in our community, girls in our community were thinking. And it was really fun to actually sit in that back room that Alyssa was talking about and watch it happen in real time. And the second one too, Assassin's Creed helps me think about the issue of religious fundamentalism and how religion has been used as a tool to gather power. These games are really kind of in depth in the detail that they go into and all the topics they go into, and to hear the passion these women had for them and the new ways of thinking that it allowed them was really fun.
The third segment, in terms of benefits of what women are getting out of gaming, is one that you might be expecting, which has to do with fantasy and creativity and the artistry that has gone into the development, the sophistication. This is a huge industry, as you know, bigger than the movie industry, and so it's attracting top talent in terms of visuals and sound effects and the creation of whole worlds. And one of the things that I think is really important in being an advocate of women that game as the GameHERs is to find pathways for women to also be part of the industry, and to be able to create games and develop games, market games. But the role playing is something that is very psychologically satisfying. And so this one woman said, so Elite Dangerous, which is a game, if you don't recognize it, has the most outrageously realistic views in space. And you can travel for weeks to get to a particular nebula and see the star up close, like a real star that's proportioned in such a way that feels so real against the backdrop of a nebula. It can be beautiful, just kind of sitting there on a beach of an alien world. That to me sounded like poetry. This person had really been transformed on her computer or on her phone.
And this one's really interesting. A generation ago, I think a lot of us had the impression that gamers were, alone in a basement, and that sort of that old stereotype. And what's so funny is not only is it not that, it's the opposite. Gaming provides community and relationships. This list here, and we could go on and on. Bonding with family, friends, parents, and children. Doing those, getting those interactions as a child, as an adult. A lot of people game with current friends, and a lot of the gamers make new friends gaming. So another aspect of this is helping others be better gamers with tips and credits, also helping others understand better ways to interact with gamers and best practices and things like that. Another big thing in gaming is charity streaming. There's an example on here, playing for St. Jude, that raised over $6 million. I mean, having been in this industry for quite some time now, the combination and affiliation between charity raising money and gaming is so strong. It's a big fund generator, which is just so wonderful and so great to learn. And again, it was great to hear these women talk about it. So again, gaming with community and relationships, it's multi-generational. It's across all socioeconomic classes. It's just it's community building and relationship building, which was really so great to learn.
And I'm really looking forward to when we expand this study internationally, to see that connectivity, to see people that potentially play across the pond, as you say. We had one woman in these groups that was from South Africa, and how it had made her friends all over the world. She was actually a champion that played competitively, but I do think that gaming is also something that is bringing people together internationally.
It is. And Alyssa, one thing I'll add to that is, from the perspective of the gamers specifically, one of the reasons that we founded our company is because women are having a hard time finding other women to game with. And one thing that impedes that so much is that the actual way it's done right now often is just going onto Twitter, kind of throwing out a Hail Mary saying, hey, does anybody want to play XYZ game with me? But when you think about the fact that there's so many details you need to find someone. And one of the big ones is time zone. Like I want to, and gamers play at all different times. So if I say, I'm Rebecca, I'm in New York, I want to play Animal Crossing at 7 p.m. New York time, or 7 a.m. New York time. It is an international activity. It's often done with people all over the world together. And we already have a number of women who game in Europe, both just in our community at large. And we also have relationships with a lot of organizations like Women Who Game. WIGJ is one of the biggest nonprofits, and it's located in Europe. And so we are really excited, even though we're New York based right now. We have a lot of women in our community in Europe, and we continue to look at ways to grow there. So we can't wait to expand that even more.
So I also wanted to share with you a projective technique that we used that is part of Hark Connect and is available through a number of ways, but it has to do with understanding the emotion that people are feeling, and it uses a deck of pictures. There's over 2,000 pictures in the deck, and they've all been validated to correspond to one of 32 emotions. So if someone picks one of these pictures, and this is just a sample of some of the pictures, but we usually use them in groups as a collage, we're able to know not just what the people are saying about the picture, but we also know what emotion it represents. And so it really gives us depth. And so we use this to find out about how women feel about gaming. And we found that it's an emotionally rich area. And so when we talked about that mastery segment, women picked a picture like this for triumph, that feeling of victory resonates with me. We've done it. We're working together to take down the other team. There's that sense of awe, of relaxation in the awesomeness of an amazing environment, a way to escape whatever troubles that I have. There's surprise and delight, the wonder in the child's eyes, and a sense of beauty and wonder. Determination, the bull is how I feel and the little girl is me, one of our respondents said. Standing up to a great foe and being confident, a sense of empowerment. Admiration, because a lot of people get great feedback in terms of how they play and their prowess. And just wanting my friends or partner to say something, to acknowledge that. And then again, the creativity that we found in terms of creating something over time, planting memories. We heard moms talk about what it means for them to play with their children and how it's part of that relationship, a new tradition my son can carry on with his children. So gaming isn't that old as a form of entertainment when you think about things like Shakespeare and theater, but it's something that is really creating traditions now, that it is now multi-generational. And I think when games first came out, we thought that it was going to be a childhood experience, but we're finding that once you fall in love with games, the games themselves can become more sophisticated. And so people continue to game well into their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s.
And this one is the paradox: being female in the gaming world. So it's interesting. There is a like this says, a dark presence in gaming that has not been addressed, that keeps women from fulfilling their potential. What it is that for whatever reason, gaming started out as more marketed towards men, and so when we first say that 50% of gamers are women, no one actually believes that. And there are many reasons for that. There's harassment and toxicity. It's not something that people like to talk about, but it's true. And so a lot of women don't game as women. They often turn off their headsets. They might change their screen name. But it's one of the reasons that the GameHERs was founded. There are also a lot of nonprofits that are working to do this and to sort of change the narrative. And I think that the more men that we can get behind this, the more sort of knowledge of the fact that women game as much as men, and making everybody aware of it. And, you know, it is systemic. There need to be more games that are geared towards women. There need to be more women in the spotlight, honored for all the wonderful things that they're doing in gaming, both just gaming at large and on the industry side of gaming. And we heard from the women in these focus groups that, you know, they've definitely had a lot of negative experiences, but that gaming certainly provided enough positive in their life to make it worth, you know, moving forward and trying to change the narrative. So we're excited to be a part of that, and the journey is definitely still long there. This one, so this was an interesting thing. The prejudice and harassment is certainly not from all males, but it is from some. And these are just some examples, you know, that sort of back up things I just said. I'm still hesitant to play anything online and do much multiplayer. So the problem with multiplayer is that women might be in a game where they're on a big team, and if they turn on their voice, or if they're doing really well, say for example, and a group of men maybe find out that they're women, they're either harassed or they're shut out. You know, like the second quote says, their racial slurs, homophobic language. It really gets pretty bad. And I will say, in all of the focus groups, I don't think any of the women said that they had never experienced. They all had unfortunately experienced. So the last one says there's a lot of gatekeeping, like women can't be real gamers. And, you know, it's unfortunate. The only thing I will say is that the fact that these women were willing to come on into the focus groups, the fact that companies like the GameHERs exist, that nonprofits exist, it's something that's changing. But it was certainly something that we assumed was the case going into this, and was backed up by the women in the groups.
It's one of the last bastions of really intense prejudice against women. Again, only some people are doing this. The majority of men, I would say, or males, are positive and open, but that segment that is negative is enough to be really disturbing. And so it's something that needs to be addressed. And the GameHERs is taking it on head on by making women have avenues to play that can avoid this kind of experience. So just to wrap it up, you know, Freud asked years ago, what do women want? And I think we've really, we're able to tell you what female gamers want. And what we know about that is that they want the freedom to soar. They want to play what they want to play, when they want to play, how they want to play, and they want to avoid that negative culture. They also want opportunities created. They want to be recognized as players in the industry, in terms of being able to be designers, illustrators, artists, marketers, etc. And they want to strengthen their relationships going forward, and really enhance the sense of sisterhood, doing good, when they're in their interpersonal relationships, on their own, for their own mental health, and also for the community at large. And so we feel like we've really learned quite a bit, but that it may be the tip of the iceberg, and that we really want to see where this goes on an international basis.
Yeah, thank you so much for having us. Both of our contact information is on this last slide. We're excited to answer questions, and we're also excited, as from the GameHERs perspective, to continue learning more and to expand our actual presence throughout Europe. So thank you.
Thank you, and we look forward to hearing your questions. Take care.